Isn't it time you took back your business and stopped doing all the things on socials? If you want to learn the 3 different things that I did to stop wasting my time on social media, you're in the right place because that's exactly what we're going to talk about in today's video. So, what I want to talk to you today is about where your human design actually helps you in your business, and in particular, the 3 core business centers. Now, I'm using air quotes because honestly, this is just through my own personal experience of what it looks like for me in my own business when I zone in on these particular centers, and then what it also has looked like for my members when I've worked with them in integrating human design into their business. So, we are going to dive into the 3 core business centers and how these 3 will help you literally ditch social media, or at least ditch the expectation of having to spend all your time there. Because at the end of the day, if you're strategic, and what I mean by that is you're strategic and you know the actual activities that are going to bring you the results that you're looking for, then you might still choose to be on social media, but now you know it only takes you 10 minutes a day to do what you need to do. So let's dive into business center number 1. So, the first center that we are going to focus in on is the throat center. So, if you pull up your own chart, you will see that it goes head, ajna, throat. And if you also notice, all channels, all roads lead to the throat center. It's why it has the most number of gates in it, because all centers want to express themselves through the throat center. So we're going to walk through all the different gates, and then we're going to talk about what it looks like for you based on whether you have the centers defined and open, and then what it looks like if you have defined gates or not. So let's dive into that right now. So these are the gates for the throat center. And what we're looking at here are an individual breakdown of what each one means, like kind of the theme. So the first thing that I want to say is if you have any of these gates defined as in colored in your chart, it's not that you need to do anything, because I get this question a lot. It's not that you need to do anything to activate them because they're already activated. The key is whether your throat center is actually defined or not. So I wanted to kind of give you that background, but let's walk through each of these gates individually so that you can understand what they are. So gate 23, that's where we're starting. So if you've got your own chart open, find gate 23 and then follow along. This is the gate of assimilation. So the voice of this gate, or the way that you might use that, is either I know or I don't, right? That's it. There's no gray area. It is I either assimilate, right? I know what I need to do, or I don't. And that's pretty much what that looks like. Gate 62. So this is the gate of details. And the voice of this gate is I think I know all the details, or I don't, right? It's always an opposite. There's never any gray in between. So I happen to have this gate defined, which means that I am someone who is very detail orientated. And so what this actually ends up looking like in business is that I tend to provide and explain details in a simple way. So I think I know the details, and that's because my throat is defined. Now, gate 56 is the gate of the storyteller, right? Someone who can just clearly share stories all the time. It's really easy to share a story. And so the voice of this is either I believe in the story I'm telling or not, right? That's it. Gate 16 is the gate of enthusiasm, right? So the voice of this gate is either I'm here to experiment and try lots of different things, or identify with whatever it is that you're involved in, excited about, or not. Right? There's always the or not. Gate 20 is the gate of in the now. Now, if you are a manifesting generator, 90% of us have that gate defined, and it's what links us straight down into our sacral. And this is the voice of I am now, right? You're literally able to speak to what is happening in the moment or not, right? And just so we're clear, the or not piece is for those of us who don't have this gate defined, or our throat center is open. And so we will not be necessarily speaking to that unless it gets activated by someone who has a defined throat. Gate 31 is the gate of influence, right? So the voice of this gate is either I'm here to lead, right? And I lead through my voice, or not. Then gate 35, so this is the gate of change. And the voice of this gate is either I experience, right? I've experienced this change, so I'm going to share what I learned, or I feel this way, or not. Gate 12 is the gate of caution. I also have this throat center defined, and what I also have this gate defined, and this is the voice of I know I can try or not, right? So whilst it's the gate of caution, right, I can still try things out and I can share what that looks like. So in business, for me, it just means that I always give people full transparency of what it actually looks like to do the thing, right? So I'm always being transparent. And so that's how I try when it comes to that particular gate. Now, I don't have to think about this, right? It's inherent. I just do it. It's just what comes to me when I'm speaking about something. So that's why I keep saying it's not that you need to do anything to activate the gates that are defined. It's just using things in alignment by following strategy and authority. So, gate 45, this is the gate of the king or queen. And the voice of this gate is either I have a whole bunch of stuff or not, right? I have, and so I'm going to share it with you, or I don't. Then gate 33, this is the gate of retreat or privacy. Just depends on what you're reading as to what it gets referred to. But the voice of this gate is either I remember, right? So it's a collective I remember things, or not, right? And you use that to either share the things that you want to share or you don't share them at all. Gate 8, which is one that I also have defined in my throat center. This is the gate of contribution. So the voice of this is either I know I can make a contribution or not. And what that really means, and certainly how it shows up for me in my business, is it's also a creative gate. And I tend to find that I create a whole bunch of things because I want to contribute something to the collective, to the people in my world. So that's how that shows up. So basically, how this works from a business is obviously the throat center is the center for communication, for putting things into action. So if you have it defined, when you're aligned, all of the gates that are defined in your throat center will just work in harmony, and things will just work. The way that you speak will always land. Now, if you're out of alignment, then the not version of that particular gate is what is going to show up. And it means that your voice is not going to land so well. And you'll find that people are just kind of like, ugh, don't really gel with what you're saying. So make sure that when you are using your voice, that you do it in a way that follows your strategy and authority, that you do things in alignment. So if you're a manifester, this is very much about, are you informing before you put something into action, right? That's you being in alignment. If you're a generator, are you responding to something external before you speak it into existence? And that is only going to be true for you if you've got a defined throat. If you're a manifesting generator, you also have a defined throat. So are you responding to something external and then informing before you do voice the thing, right? That's what that really looks like. If you're a projector, are you waiting to be invited before you speak? Very important for you if you are a projector and you have a defined throat. It's like a double whammy if you speak and you haven't been invited to do so, because your entire projector strategy is to inherently see what people need, but unless they're ready to hear it, that's not going to land so well. And it will be like a double whammy, because your throat is defining it so powerful that they're going to be immediately repelled and probably super annoyed, maybe even a little peed off. And if you're a reflector, does the moment feel right for you to actually speak, right? You won't have a defined throat, so your throat center is open, but you might have defined gates. So it's very much about you following correct timing, following flow, and paying attention to where the transits are. Like, is your throat center activated right now? Then maybe this is the time for you to actually speak up and say something. So, here is a little question that you can ask yourself if you are struggling to find your own unique voice. And here it is. You can jot it down and use it to journal on whenever you wish. And that is, why don't I feel aligned with what I'm writing or speaking right now? So, the next thing that we're going to talk about is the G center. So, the G center is the one that's right in the middle of your chart. And I'm pointing to it. You might not be able to see me doing that. But if you look at your chart, it goes throat center and then G center. Now, this is the center for purpose and direction and self love, right? That's what the G center is all about. And I do find that in business, regardless of whether you have it defined or not, it is the center for direction, right? For purpose. And if you're lacking any of that, or if you know where you're going and all of those things, it's generally going to be because of that G center. So let's dive into the individual gates. So we're going to start with gate 25. So if you've got your chart open, have a look at the G center, find gate 25, and then we're going clockwise from there. So this is the gate of the power of the self, right? The theme of this gate is loving in the universe and having a place to be loving towards what everything is. So if you have this gate defined, it just means it's the power of self, that you know who you are, what you stand for, all the things. It is essentially like the core of what the G center is here for. So if it's defined, then this will already be inherent in you, nothing you need to do to activate it. Gate 15, this is the gate of extremes. So the theme of this gate is modesty and the potential to care about others, but in an extreme way, right? It's very go to the extreme of caring, or you're going to be extremely modest, right? That's kind of how that shows up. Gate 46 is the gate of determination of the self. So the theme of this is to follow through and to just simply love who you are, what you do without judgment. Gate 10, this is the gate of the behavior of the self. So you can see there's a very core theme here. The theme of this gate is the love of being alive as yourself, right? Acceptance of who you are and how others are. Right? If you have that defined, you tend to be someone who is, when you're in alignment, accepting of who you are, but also just accepting how other people are as well. And then gate 1, this is the gate of self expression, right? The theme of this gate is creative, very much about following your muse, all of those things. I happen to have this gate defined. So it's the gate where you just get to express what it is that you do, all the things. Gate 13 is the gate of the listener, right? The theme of this gate is listening to others' past to learn from their experiences and figure out what that means for you. Gate 7 is the role of the self in interactions, right? The theme of this gate is to have future perspective and is always looking forward, right? So that's why it's the interaction, right? Because you're looking for, what does this mean for future? What's the perspective? How does that need to shift? And gate 2, this is the gate of the direction of the self, right? The theme of this gate is direction in your life, individual vision. I happen to have this gate defined as well. And it just simply means that in my business, I always know where I'm going, what I'm doing. I never ever feel like I'm floundering, because if I just take a moment and sit in my own energy, it's very easy for me to figure out the direction that I need to go. So if you happen to have this center defined, pay attention to the gates that you also have defined and how they then bubble up into the throat center as well. Bonus if you have a direct channel linking the two together, because that will be a natural kind of theme that runs through everything that you do. So if you have your G center defined, it means that you're more often than not going to have a pretty strong sense of your own self and a strong sense of your direction and purpose. It also means that typically, if you are a coach, a guide, a mentor, then 9 times out of 10, you will have the center defined. That has been my experience so far with working over 1,000 creative entrepreneurs. that is being the pattern that I have identified, is that coaches, mentors, teachers all tend to have this center defined because they just have that strong sense of direction and purpose, and people gravitate towards that. Now, if you happen to have your G center open, as in it's white, but you have defined gates, then it simply means that you will feel at different moments when it's correct for you to be self expressive, or when to dial in and follow your direction and your purpose, right? It will become clear to you. And often that is going to be when someone has a G center that's defined and they're in your vicinity. Now, if you don't have anything going on in your G center at all, it just means that you're designed to go with the flow. So, in a business sense, it's very much about you not having a whole bunch of plans in place. It's learning to just simply go with the flow and be okay with not knowing your exact strategy or direction, because it will unfold for you. And it's the pure joy of letting that unfold that is what is meant for you to experience and then share with your audience. And then the final business center is the sacral center. Now, there are going to be about 30% of you who don't have this defined, but 70% of you will. So if you have it defined, that means that you're a generator or manifesting generator. And so what's really important for you to understand is this is your life force, workforce energy. This is the power. This is the motor. This is where all of your energy comes from when you're aligned. Right. So this is very much about following strategy and authority for you, but also learning to understand that this is the center for creativity. Regardless of whether it's defined or not, it's still that center for you. So if you have it open in your chart, but you have some defined gates, then you definitely want to pay attention to the gates that are defined and get yourself in the vicinity of a generator or manifesting generator so you can activate and step into that creativity a lot faster. Now, if you don't have anything defined in your sacral center at all, it just means that you have a lot of flexibility in the way that you create, and there won't be any one way for you to bring stuff to life. You will still benefit from being in the vicinity of a generator or manifesting generator, but your creative way of doing things is going to largely come down to your strategy and authority and your profile numbers. The way that you bring things to life is likely to change based on seasons, based on transits, all of those things. Dial in to your own unique energy. Okay, so for the majority of you, let's talk through the different gates. Now, the sacral center is the largest motor center. It also is the second center to have a lot of gates going on. So between the sacral center and the throat center, those are the two biggest centers, but the sacral center is the largest motor center. It's the one that has so much energy that you could literally be an Energizer bunny and never stop when you're in alignment. So we're going to start with gate 34. So if you're playing along and looking at your own chart, locate gate 34, and then we're going to go in clockwise from there. So this is the gate of power, right? It's an intense gate designed to fuel life itself. So you're literally going to be someone who, at its core, likes to procreate, but it also means to bring stuff to life, right? So from a business perspective, this is very much about birthing things, new things, things that you're excited about, things that you've responded to. Gate 27 is the gate of caring. So the theme of this gate is nurturing and protecting. So from a business perspective, that means that you actually nurture your audience and you protect them from doing crazy things, right? That's what that will actually show up for you in your business. Gate 42 is the gate of growth. So the theme of this is to produce an actual ending to then grow into the next phase. So it's pretty easy to see how that correlates to business. If you're constantly growing, you're growing to a certain point and then you grow into the next phase and you help others do the exact same thing. Gate 3 is the gate of ordering. So the theme for this gate is right order and creation. I know that that might seem like a weird thing, that it kind of go hand in hand together, but there might be a specific order to the way that you create. And that is just going to be inherent to you if you have this gate defined. Now, gate 9 is the gate of energy for detail, right? There's that detail thing again. So this is very much about being able to identify different patterns and details and being able to share that with ease. So gate 59 is the gate of sexuality, right? So the theme of this gate is intimacy with others and fertility. Now that's at the personal level. At a business level, this actually is also about what you want to share with your one-on-one clients, with your VIPs, right? That intimacy, creating that. Now, it doesn't mean that you're down to get hot and heavy with everyone. It just means that you have a deeper connection with people, and that's what you're actually looking for. Gate 5 is fixed rhythms. I have this gate defined, and the theme of this gate is waiting and daily rhythm and flow. And I notice, particularly in business, that if I don't follow and flow with kind of the natural rhythms that show up in my business and I work against them, then things just don't go well. I really appreciate consistent routines, but they often change. And that's because I'm in flow, right? Following different rhythms, following different ways of approaching things. And it just becomes this natural thing. Ultimately, I just follow my gut because that's how I'm designed. And gate 14 is the power skills gate. And the theme of this is individual direction and knowing. I also have this gate defined, and it links straight into my G center, which again is literally fueling my self purpose and direction. So if you have this defined, it just means that you have this very individual direction and you just know things when you're doing things in alignment. And then gate 29 is the gate of yes or perseverance, depending on the way that you're approaching it. The theme of this gate is experience, discovery, and to persevere despite circumstances, right? Despite weird things going on. So whilst it's a gate of yes, where you might be saying yes to all the things, through saying yes, you persevere through. And that's that experience, that discovery, and you tend to share that. So basically, we have just gone through the 3 business centers. So throat center, G center, sacral center, and they all go down the middle of your chart. Now, that is not to discount the rest of the centers when it comes to your business. That's not what this is about. This is about zoning in on the 80/20 of the centers in your chart and understanding that these 3 together really do show up in your business and are what allow you to work with your specific audience in the way that you are designed to work. So how do you use this? I bet that's what you're asking right now. Well, basically, particularly when it comes to social media, it's very much about sitting down and going, do I want to be talking on social media, right? Is this actually my jam? And if it is, then pay attention to your throat center, because then it will help determine whether you're here to verbally do things or whether writing is more your jam. With your G center and your sacral center, what is your purpose and direction? And what do you have energy to bring to life? And how is that showing up for you in your business? And then how does that then translate to, do I actually have the energy to do things on social media? Do I actually want to be doing these things? And if you don't, then what are you going to do next? So based on your specific strategy and authority, that determines what that actually looks like for you. So make sure you go and check out the next video that is coming up on your screen, and I will see you in that video. Take care.